Alright, I'm going to be talking about a tech that you've probably never heard of, at least not until recently. You may have seen this clip from Necros where he got something similar to what I'm going to talk about. I can't say for sure that this is exactly the same thing, but it looks the same. So this is a tech that we don't fully understand yet. Some of us have known about this for quite a while at this point, since back around when the auto swing bind was added, we realized that this sort of trick existed, but we really just don't know what's going on behind the scenes. And so, yes, I'm putting a bounty on this, and that is to say that if you make some sort of breakthrough into understanding this tech and how it works, I will buy you a skin in-game and gift it to your account. Alright, hopefully now I've got your attention. What is this tech that I'm talking about? Well, it's closely related to this thing that we call the unique 3-hit combo, where you'll notice that despite that looking like just a punch then an overhead, the second punch is sort of buried inside that overhead, and I should be able to reproduce this fairly consistently, where there's a punch starting up just before the overhead does, and so instead of that overhead cancelling the punch, what we see is that instead they sort of layer over one another. We pretty thoroughly understand how the unique 3-hit works. What I'm going to talk about is something that we've been calling the unique 2-hit. Now, I would love to give you a little demonstration of how this works, but the truth is I can't get this to work consistently on my end. And I don't know if that's caused by some hardware thing or a frame rate limit or a skill issue, but frankly, the best I can do is show you some clips that other people have sent, and here are some of those clips. Thank you to NonJons for compiling these for me. These clips are coming from Tokens, Fancy Spider, Loibina, Hydro, Catapults. Catapult's actually done some labbing using macros, and so far hasn't found anything very conclusive. That's just to name a few. Some of these clips have been forwarded around so many different channels that I've completely lost track of who recorded them in the first place, so my apologies. I really would love to credit everyone who has shared one of these clips, but I do not have the list. But yeah, I really just can't recreate it. So let me give you the rundown on some of the theories that have arisen as to how this comes about. My first thought was that there's some sort of delay between the auto swing going off and actually awarding the overhead, and frankly that could still be true because, I mean, if you came out of that swing state and were able to start up a punch before the overhead were awarded, there's every reason to think that that would start up that same kind of move stack as we see in the unique 2-hit. But as you can see, even if that is the case, it's not at all consistent. So other factors that may be at play, and this one actually kind of sheds some doubt on that last theory, is that a lot of the time in these clips that we see, people actually had both overheads available before they used get over here targeting. So they had both their jump overhead and their swing overhead, and I've got a video explaining the difference between these and how we track them. So that could play a part, that could sort of add something into the fold, but as you can see, that's not enough for me to get this tech either, so that certainly isn't consistent. One other possibility is that it's just like a super precise window. A lot of the time I'll scroll and be holding left click to bring out that punch and overhead as early as possible, but I don't know, maybe it's possible that really you need to just tap your auto swing button, and it doesn't need to be the scroll wheel, but it actually needs to be held for a certain number of frames or something really precise like that. It's also possible that it's dependent on frame rate. I have tried turning down my frame rate. Certain techs are made more consistent by having a low frame rate, but other techs are made more consistent by having a high frame rate, and my current system is not very good at having a high frame rate. So it's possible that the reason that I can't do this is just that my frame rate isn't high enough. And if my frame rate were higher, then I would actually be able to test a lot of these other things more accurately. That is possible. Another theory that NonJons has mentioned a few times is that you might somehow be able to trick the game into thinking that you've landed briefly, whether you're landing like on your opponent or there's something else really strange going on, to trick the game briefly into thinking that you're in some sort of landed state, and then the auto swing changes that somehow. It's a little unclear to me how this exactly would work, especially because you can't, like, jump off of an enemy. You just slide off of them. You never enter a landed state. But maybe there's something to this. I'm not sure. I'm just throwing everything out there. It is possible, but not likely in my eyes, that it's somehow hardware dependent. I have no idea why this would be the case, but again, it is possible. Look at my ping. What is going on? Speaking of ping, it is also possible that this is somehow ping dependent or entirely server-side. And that would be the most disappointing of all of these outcomes, I think, because if this is server-side, or it's dependent on some sort of desync between the player and the server, then it's entirely possible that this is something that's completely out of our control, that it's just random for all intents and purposes, which means that there's really no way that we could incorporate this consistently into our gameplay. And then, of course, it could be a combination of any of those previous factors. Maybe it's one of them, two of them, three of them, or all of them. Probably not. But that's sort of one of the things that is making this difficult to test. As we try to isolate one of these things at a time, we really haven't made much progress. The reason I want to know it really is so that either, if we find that there's some sort of learnable aspect to this, that it can be performed consistently, well, that adds another layer to our combo potential. I think that's the obvious reason, but another reason is that even if we discover how this works and that it's totally outside of our control and not learnable in any way, we learn more about the architecture of the game and sort of what boundaries are practically there for us to push up against as we're trying to get the most out of really the game in general, but particularly Spider-Man. So that's why I'm opening this up to the community and offering this bounty. So what are the bounty rules? Really, just anyone who makes a breakthrough wins a skin. Now, what counts as a breakthrough is going to be at my discretion. It's got to be something I don't already know about this, and so you can check the Discord server. There's going to be an invite down below to sort of see previous discussions and what we do and don't know about this tech. You can ping me there, you can ask questions, and you can keep up with any ongoing events with what's going on with this tech. Most of the discussions that we've had about this so far can be found on the server under the Learning Spider-Man category in a forum called Tech Showcase, in the post called Tech Inconsistent Auto Swing Unique 2-Hit Compilation. But if you find something and share something that helps us get to the bottom of this, that is what I'm looking for. That is the kind of thing that will win you a skin. So, for example, if you can find a consistent method to do this technique, obviously that is going to count as a breakthrough, even if that involves a macro. If you find that it's consistent with a macro and you share how you set this up, that's good enough for me. That just, if it can be done with a macro, that tells me that theoretically a human can do it. And if you somehow prove that it's not possible with any sort of setup, with any sort of tricks, I don't really know how you'd do that, but if you somehow did, that would also win a skin. And multiple people can win skins. If this is a split effort, I don't want people sort of making a breakthrough and then keeping it to themselves because they haven't quite fully solved everything yet. Do share it. If you make solid progress that leads to understanding this tech better, that's all I'm looking for. Multiple people can win skins. So, if you find something, send it to me. Ideally on Discord, you can ping me in the Superior Spider Society, or you can send me a direct message. I'll leave a invite to that server, as well as my unique user ID in the description so that you can contact me that way. You can also leave a YouTube comment, but that's just a more difficult way to communicate in general. So Discord would be preferred. Alright, we'll keep this one short and sweet. It's good to be back making Spider-Man stuff again, and there is more Spider-Man stuff on the way. So make sure you're subscribed, make sure you leave a like on this video and let me know that you're still interested in the Spider-Man stuff. So I'm very excited to see what you guys are able to find. Happy hunting.